Hi, this is Mr. Dunbar. In this video, we will be looking at the programming tutorial Hello Program. We're going to go through the instructions and take a look at the questions. First thing we do is start Visual Basic and save the program. Notice that these instructions refer to a home drive, that is H:. This no longer exists. We now are using a G drive that is called a Google Drive file share. So that'll be the first thing that you need to get used to. Here's the Visual Basic IDE, the Integrated Development Environment. You'll notice that I'm just resizing the form a little bit to give myself a little more room to work with. The very first thing that you ought to do is to save your project. Click on that save icon that you see. Make sure that you navigate to the correct folder. VB98 is not the right place to save something. You need to be going to the Google Drive file stream, as you see here on this screen, into My Drive, into the ICS folder. In your case, you're going to call it the Hello program, and I'm just going to call it Hello Demo. And you'll notice that it is a form, FRM file. Don't worry about adding extensions. Let the computer do that. Click Save. Now you're asked to save the project file. This is a distinct file. And again, we could call that Hello Demo. And please do not make the mistake of choosing this hellodemo.frm file. If you do, like I did here, and then save it, you will destroy your work. Instead, let Visual Basic be in charge of adding the extensions. So I got rid of the .frm. I'm tapping outside of it. You'll notice that it's a VBP file. Click Save. Now your project has been properly saved, and if you ever tap the Save button again, it saves everything in the correct location. The instructions ask us to play 3 buttons. So I'm going to place Command button, and Command button. I'm going to place all 3 at once. We get 1, we get a second, we get a third. You'll notice that they're not in order. That is not important at this stage, because we will be modifying their properties. Click once on the first command button. I'm going to change its name to CMD Display, and I will change the caption to Display Hello, and we'll place an ampersand in front of the D. Notice how it gives us an underscore. We have a second command button, CMD Exit, and we will give it the caption Exit and place an ampersand. I prefer placing the ampersand in front of the X. And last we have Clear and CMD Clear. Notice how it's lowercase CMD and then an uppercase C. And then we will clear with the ampersand in front of the C. The instructions ask us to change the font all at once, so for the heck of it, why don't we do that? Draw a rectangle around them so that you select the 3 objects. The dots don't appear. There's a little bit of a bug, but they are selected. Click in the font property once, click on the 3 little dots, and you have the option to change the font. So let's make it size 12. OK. You'll notice that Display Hello no longer fits. Click once on the form, and click once to select Display Hello, and resize it. Maybe a touch more. Now, I prefer to have all my widths the same for the buttons, so I am going to use the width property, 1695, and again, I'll hold down the Shift key, click on Exit, Shift key, click on Clear. I've selected all 3, so let's make their width 1695. Notice how they're all now the same width. I can also align them. Let me select them again. And we'll select all 3. Format, horizontal spacing, make equal, and we could also format align tops. Everything is symmetrical and aligned. Last thing to do is add a label. Let's make the label big. since that's what the instructions ask us to do. Let's widen it, and if I'm not mistaken, we'll go up here to the top of this properties pane, change the name of the label to LBL display, and we empty the caption, we make it blank, press the backspace key, press enter, and it is accepted. And the last thing I believe we change is we change the font. You see how I tapped the 3 dots to size 24 and Arial. And we click OK. So at this point, it is wise to save the project in case we make a mistake. One last thing I noticed that I have not yet done is to change the name of the form. You'll notice that it says Form 1, which is right there. So we click once on the form. So I'm going to click once on the grid, click, and here we have Form 1, FRM, display is the name. Notice how that did not change the caption. So now we go back and change the caption, the hello program. Once again, let's save our work to be on the safe side, and let's hit the start button to confirm that the program works. And yes, indeed, it displays a form with a number of buttons. Now to stop the program, I can press the end button. We now need to take a look at our instructions to make sure that we have done everything. So here are adding the objects and setting the properties. And this is what the sample program looks like. And here we have the instructions on what to do with the label. Oh, I forgot to align it in the middle. We will align it center in a moment. The last thing to do on this particular page is to attach code to the objects. You'll notice for the first one, for item number 13, there is an empty event procedure. You have a question that relates to that empty event procedure. So we will create our event procedures. We will attach code to the various buttons. First thing I need to do is remind myself, click once on the label, and we go for alignment, click once, and you'll notice here we've got a pop-up list. We will center it. Okay, now to add code to the buttons, double-click on Display Hello. Double-click creates the code stub, and at this point I will increase the size of my window, maximize it, press tab once. This organizes things. So, display. LBL display, we are talking to the label, and we've given the label the name LBL display. And we want to put a message into it. So LBL display dot, and you'll notice a list pops up. Caption is assigned, and here I've got a quotation mark, or something along the lines of hello world. There we go. And why don't we hide the project and the properties pane for now so that we can see everything in here. So here is our first event procedure. Let's test the program by starting it. Start. It runs. Display hello. Hello world. It worked. You'll notice if I click on exit and clear, nothing happens because they have not yet been programmed. So we can now return to the form. There are two ways to do it. We can choose the window, form display, or we can choose view menu and switch between code and object. We are going to object. We are going to add code to the exit button. Double click, press tab once to line things up, and we need the word end by itself. That's all we need. And again, let's test our code right away. Run the program and press exit. It worked. Great. Last thing, go back to the objects and clear. At this point, we need to empty the contents of the caption for label display. So LBL display dot caption is 2 quotation marks, and a reminder at this point, save your work. And let's test the program again. Start. And here we go. Display hello. Clear. Exit. Fantastic. It all worked. And if we look at our object, here is the raw program. Let's look at some of the questions now. So first, what is the 3-character prefix for the command button? CMD, you have perhaps figured out. CMD being short for command. And notice how it is always lowercase. Next, what's the 3-character prefix for labels? LBL. It's a short form for label. And you can imagine the short form for a text box, for instance, would be TXT when you encounter text boxes. Question 3. If you named a button Command Left, CMD Left, what would the empty event procedure for that click event look like? And you'll remember I pointed that out a few minutes ago. Well, this is how it looks. Private sub, CMD left, underscore click with 2 brackets, end sub. If you have any text inside these brackets, it means that you've created a control array. This is not something you want to be doing. It creates headaches. If you run into that problem, the trick is to make sure that you do not copy and paste your controls. That's the easiest way to avoid them. You can fix it by removing the index property. It's usually a number. Well, it is a number. And if you get rid of that, you would get rid of the control array. Question 4. What does the ampersand do? Well, it allows you to create a hotkey. So let's take a look at our program and let's run it. And without using the mouse, I am able to control this program. So I can press Alt-D on the keyboard to display Hello World, Alt-C to clear it, and Alt-X to exit the program. They are hotkeys. Question 5. We're going to create 2 new buttons, small and large. Small changes the font size to size 12, large changes it to 24. What you need to do is look at the properties that belong to label display. So let's take a look at the properties. We view objects, click once on display hello. I happen to have hidden my properties, so I need to re-enable that. View menu, properties window, bring them back, and if we look down here, you'll notice that we have a font property. Font by itself refers to the name of the typeface that is being shown. But if you tap on the 3 dots, you'll see size. So if you combine font with size, you get the property that you can modify to change the font size. So if we look at the code that is listed here, so we have private sub, CMD small click, and we are changing the font size of the label to 12. So if we were to create a new button, and actually, why don't I do it the cheater's way? I will copy this button, and I am going to paste that button. Notice this question that pops up. Please answer no. You do not want a control array. So we now have a copy of that button. We have to modify things because we want it to be CMD small. And let's change this to ampersand small. And if we were to view code, I could actually paste that empty procedure. So if I go back to my tutorial and copy this, I can paste it back into here, and it should work unmodified, unless I made a mistake. So let's find out. Display hello, Alt-D. Let's go for small. It worked. Clear with a C. Display hello. Now I cannot change the size to big, to large, because I have not created that code yet. The code is very similar. Essentially, we create another button. Let me scroll down here, and we change this font size to 24. That's it. Now there's an extension activity here whereby you're asked to modify the clear button so that it will disable itself? Well, there's this neat property called enabled, and it belongs to the button, so CMD display and CMD clear. So let's say you're modifying the clear button so that it disables itself. Well, you would expect to be able to click on CMD display, so you'd have to enable that no matter what. And you'd want to disable clear because, well, there is nothing to clear. And the corollary applies. If you're clicking display hello, you don't need to be able to click it again, but you do need to make sure that you can click on command clear. And I'd like to thank Andre Simoneau for creating this tutorial and allowing us to use it.